the April 10th Transportation Committee meeting to order. All members are present. Also with us today are Chairman Bill Dawson and Councilman Satterley and Councilman Joseph. Councilman Clark, would you say the prayer?
Yes, I will. Would everyone please stand? In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of Ascension Parish. Lord, as we come upon our Easter holidays, let's everybody think about the Son of our Lord Jesus Christ and a forgiving heart, and look upon our neighbors to their needs and not be selfish. Lord, it's with a heavy heart we ask that you look upon the families of some of the people that we've lost here recently. We ask that you pray for the families of Mr. Corey Gotro, Mr. Jordan Young Sr., and Mr. Bobby McGlicko. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. If you'd like to comment, any members of the public, please fill out a card and bring it up. There will be a 3-minute limit on your speaking time. Okay, no public comments. Chairman's report, I have nothing additional to report other than I'm going to add, I'd like to add 2 things to the agenda. We'll take a unanimous vote of the committee. Number 1 is to add 2 roadways to, it would be 7A for the acceptance into the parish system. These are 2 roads that we rejected last time, but I've spoken to Ricky DeArmond, who says that they have been repaired and they're up to date and they're ready to be entered. It's Superior Road Avenue and Grandwood Avenue in Woodland Manor. And I'd like a motion. Okay, we have a motion from, Councilman Lambert, and a second from Councilman Cagliari. Take roll call. Councilman, I'll do the roll call. We don't have a secretary for some reason.
Because Bill Dawson got rid of them all.
Councilman Court.
Yes.
Councilman Cazzo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cazzo.
That's quite all
Councilman Lambert.
Yes.
And Councilman Cagliari.
Yes.
And yes.
Secretary who got that gender thing right, but that's okay.
So, because I know who's usually here. So we will add 7A, and I'd also like to add 11A, and this is a request for qualifications for preliminary engineering through right-of-way acquisition for an extension of Highway 3127. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman Dawson, but this is CF Industry funds that we'll be using for this, and we'd like to add this to the agenda at 11A.
Motion to approve the addition of 11A.
Okay, a motion by Councilwoman Cazzo, a second by Councilman Cagliari. Roll call. Councilman Coulart?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cazzo?
Yes.
Councilman Lambert?
Yes.
And Councilman Cagliari?
Yes.
Yes, and yes, unanimous, so it is added as 11A. Acceptance of the minutes of the March 6,
Motion to
2017.
Second.
Okay, any questions, any objections? So approved. Okay, item number 6 on the agenda is transportation impact fee update. Jerome Fournier, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you. I wanted to give an update. At the last meeting, we had our consultant, Mr. Clancy Mullen from Duncan and Associates, give a presentation. I wanted to give you an update on that and where we stand. I told him he didn't need to be present since he gave such a clear explanation at the last meeting. I decided he didn't need him here, so I'm gonna do that. In your package, you had a copy of the report, and I think you also had a copy of this spreadsheet that we had prepared. And I have another handout that I'd like to give you before I get into the explanation. Basically, we've updated the report based on some of the comments at the last meeting. And staff recommends that we would have the committee recommend to the full council that they adopt the report that's been updated. And what this does is update the fees, and the fees reflect an increase of the construction costs since the very first report was prepared in 2006. We've consolidated certain residential categories, and we've basically modified the categories a bit. And we removed medical office category. Medical offices will now be under the general office category. We provided a new category at the request of the council for mobile homes that lie on a vacant lot that are less than 1,500 square feet in size. And this is your typical 18 by 72 type of mobile home. So they have their own category, and they're a little bit lower than what was in the past, all right? What I'd like to discuss here is that we'd like to have the council adopt the fees that are prepared in the report. And basically, this gives justification based on the new criteria that was established in the Institute of Traffic Engineers studies, and it also shows the increase in the costs from 2006 to now. But we'd also recommend that you levy the fees at a different rate than what you've adopted. And with consultation with some of the council members, I'll refer you to the spreadsheet that I have. John, if I can get this on the table there, I think. We get the overhead working on that. There we go. Well, that's not very readable, is it? What we're suggesting in the first column, you have the land use type. The second column, you have the unit. The third column is you have the current fee that's presently being utilized, and we're charging property owners. And then the updated fee at 100% of the fee amount. And as you can see, and give you a couple of examples, the fee for a single-family detached home between 2,000 and 2,999 square feet goes from $1,933, which is the current fee, all the way up to $2,753, right? What we're recommending is that you look at the fees that we would actually apply to the property owners and take on the East Bank, and that would be all of the properties east of the Mississippi River, and we apply the fee at 70% of the updated fee amount. And what that does is get us back to what we're collecting now, okay? And you can see the different categories here. We're pretty much right falling in line. One of the things that Mr. Mullen described at the last meeting is that we cannot pick and choose the particular categories that we want to apply a different fee to, because everything's based on the amount of traffic that these particular land uses generate, right? And it's also been suggested that we want to look at the West Bank differently than the East Bank. And I'll bring that up for discussion later, and what we're looking at is possibly applying the updated fee at 25% of what the actually updated fee is. The reason for this is we wanted to spur some economic development on the West Bank. We have not been collecting many fees at all. I think we've only had maybe 2 or 3 building permits that have been issued. Since the fees have been in place, we have not collected very much money at all on the West Bank. So this is up for consideration. It's certainly at your discretion. The other thing is that we're going to provide, at the request of one of the council members, an escalation factor. And the escalation factor is going to be tied to the engineering news record cost of construction. They provide an index every year. This is a well-known, very formal construction cost index that's widely used across the country. It can vary anywhere from 0.5% in one year all the way up to 5% another year. It just basically looks at the cost of construction over a period of time, all right? This is a recommendation. All these are recommendations. The other thing I'd like to introduce is a hardship case, and I handed out something to you from St. Tammany Parish. And St. Tammany Parish is the other parish in the state of Louisiana. We only have two of us that actually collect transportation impact fees, all right? St. Tammany Parish has a hardship application form, and you can see that here. It's basically they establish certain criteria as to whether you can apply, and I'd like to introduce this as a possibility for ours, and if you agree, it would be part of the ordinance. One thing I would like to state, and this was brought up before, is that if we do implement a hardship case, the money cannot come from, we'd still have to pay the fee, whatever the fee is. The money would have to come from another source. It can't be coming from the transportation impact fees that we've already collected to pay for somebody who can't pay. That money would have to come from the general fund or from another source, right? So if we do implement this program, that money will have to come from another source, right? The other thing and the last thing I'd like to bring up before we open it up for discussion are the credits. One thing that we are going to do, we do now, and we'd like to implement, and we'd like to encourage, in fact, is that properties or developments that are occurring along one of these major corridors that we've described, either arterial or collector, major collector within the parish, if they install a facility, we'd like to give them credit on the fees for having installed that facility. And I think that this could be a really big win-win for the parish. Number one, they go out to contract, they do the construction, they do the construction to our standards, we inspect it, we accept the facility, and then we give them credit against their fees for having installed a major piece of infrastructure in the parish. This is a big deal for a lot of people who have instituted impact fees in the past and currently do that. We did a lot of that in my past role back on the West Coast, and it's worked out very well for a lot of the entities. With that, I'll turn it over to you for questions, and I'll be entertaining anything you might have.
Councilman Clark.
Yeah. So Jerome, based on your spreadsheet that you're talking about, adjusting the impact fees on the East Bank down to 70% of the original, and then you're talking about on the West Bank down to only 25% of the original.
Okay. Let me correct that. Not the
I mean,
original, but the updated fee.
The update, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what I got right here.
Okay.
All right.
So just to give you an example, Mr. Claude, the new fee for a single-family home is $2,753. We would collect $1927, which is basically the same thing we're collecting now, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So on the West Bank, though, we'd be collecting $688, right, under the current scenario.
All right. And let's go to the mobile homes.
Okay.
You talked about, mobile homes, you got the arrow in the direction of less than 1,500 square feet.
Right.
And you're talking about $1,100
Yes, sir.
flat?
Flat. And that would be for a mobile home that's less than 1,500 square feet. Now, if they're over that, they're like a manufactured home or something along those lines, and they're 2,200 square feet, they would fall under the category up above, right?
Right, detached dwelling.
Right.
I don't have anything against the people of the West Bank, but I got thousands of people in District 6 that's just trying to get back inside a house, all right?
I understand.
So I would like for this committee to at least consider if we got to do something here, to consider those folks,
Okay.
all right?
I'm open to
They're not
any
going to leave
suggestions
San Juan,
here.
move to Downsville, okay?
No.
They want to rebuild. They want to live.
But if they have a home already, they don't have to come back. If their home is destroyed and they rebuild,
They don't have to pay that impact
All right,
fee.
let me
That's-
ask this quick question.
That's very true,
Jerome,
yes. Yes,
if
sir.
my house was 1,500 square feet and the one I'm bringing back is 2,000 square feet, do I have to pay an impact fee?
No.
You'd pay the difference between the two.
So you do. That's what I want everybody to understand that,
Yeah.
okay? All right, based on what we got right now,
Mhm.
all right?
Yeah.
What would the difference be?
What, if you had a mobile home that's less than 1,500 square feet, and you'd pay $1,100 here, and if you put, that was your old house, if you put a new one on, it'd be the difference between $1,100 and $1,927. So it'd be, what, $827 would be the fee that you'd collect for those people.
So if you had a
Well, it
2,000,
wouldn't be the,
Oh, yeah.
so if you had a 2,000 square foot home and you decided that you wanted to build a 2,500 square foot home, that was the example we'd heard before. So how much would you pay then?
You'd pay the difference between the 1831 and the 1927,
So about $96.
right?
I just want everybody to understand, as people are rebuilding, that the natural conception in everybody's mind is that they already had a house, daddy coming back with a house, and
Right.
there's no impact fee because they had the same 3 cars or 2 cars, or whatever they had before,
Right.
all right? But that's not.
I'm
Todd,
good,
I
I'm
wanna
good
make
with, I'm good with you on that, if,
clear.
there's any
Let's
way we
make
can
this
add
clear to
that.
everybody, that the way it,
Especially
as
on
it
these
sits
flooded
right
victims.
now, that they're gonna be looked at at their dwelling by the square footage, and they're gonna be charged an impact fee.
Well, if it increases in size.
If it
Under
increases in
Under the
size.
current way it's written, right.
Yes.
Now, if you're the council, if you'd like to make some
Well, that's what
recommendations
I'm
on that
talking
and
here
make a
tonight.
change, we can certainly do that.
I represent people, and that's why I'm here talking tonight, is the
Okay.
fact that, I see us trying to work with the West Bank
Mm-hmm.
a great deal to help to spur some economic development. I don't have a problem with that. But I got people out of a house. They don't have a house to live in. They're
Right.
living in a FEMA trailer, okay? Or a travel trailer, or not even living on their land right now, trying to get back. So what can we do for those folks? Just, and I think I don't think that can be answered tonight, but I think some kind of thought needs to go into that and see what we can do, because as those people are going to your office,
Mm-hmm.
they're being told, well, what was your house before? Well, it was 1,500 square feet, now it's 18, so, well, you need to pay an impact fee,
Right.
right? So,
They
I
are,
want that to be very clear to everybody,
okay.
all right? And, I don't have a problem with going back, to the adjusted, but, even, we got some people are being forced to move in a trailer. Now, if they move in a trailer where they had a house that was flooded out, they still pay an impact fee?
No. No, if it's on the same lot and they were flooded out, that house is gone, they put a new trailer there, they're not subject to the fee. Especially if it's even smaller, they're not subject to the fee at all. Yeah. So, and we're trying to work with people, as you know, Mr.
Hey, look,
Lott,
we're
yeah.
new into this
yeah.
program,
Mhm.
basically, I understand that.
Yeah.
But
I've got to file this
But I mean,
thick of.
since we first started talking about impact fees,
Mhm.
okay, and I realized that the strong generation for the impact fees were based on the top 3, the northern districts, okay?
Right,
But what we do is we got something parish-wide that affects
yeah.
my district also.
No, I totally understand.
That was 100% inundated,
Mhm.
all right? So I would like,
And I'd like to add to that is that not only are properties that were flooded, but if a property owner has had a house or a unit on a lot within the last 5 years, and they're replacing that unit with another unit, and I've had numerous people come in for that situation, they're exempt, all right? So it's not just with flood victims, it's anybody who's had a unit in their house within the last 5 years. Those people are exempt from the fee, all right? And if there's a difference in square footage, we do make the adjustment, obviously, but we have exempted numerous people that have had houses on a lot 4 years ago It's vacant, they've now put a trailer on, we've given them an exemption to the fee. Right, so we are working with those folks.
I just want that discussion to come up and something that we need to take a look at.
Sure.
Thank you.
Wait, Councilwoman Cazza.
Yes, I'm chomping at the bit too. Isn't there some exemption in light of our emergency that could be given to any homeowner who's rebuilding on their property that was otherwise flooded? I mean, isn't that the?
Can we make that call? If we
Wouldn't
can make that
be
call,
able-
we need to
Wouldn't we
look
be
at that.
able to make, could we make that call?
Sure.
What kind of precedent would it set? I understand we might have to have a specific emergency, type of emergency.
But we have to pay it back.
Yeah. And where would we do that from, and what would be the options for that?
We don't want the
mean-
hardship.
And I understand that. So can you explore for us what the precedent would be for an exemption to this in a
Sure.
state of emergency where folks lost their house due to a catastrophic event?
Yeah.
Because we're going to see this again in a hurricane or
Well,
some other disaster of epic
I'll give you an
proportion.
example. The situations that have come across my desk so far are people that have had a home that's destroyed and they're replacing that home on that same lot. I've had other property owners who have come in where they've had a destroyed home on a lot, let's say, use an example in Santamont, and now they also own some property in Prairieville, all right? So they decided not to rebuild in Santamont because it was flooded. Now they're rebuilding in Prairieville, and it's on another lot that they've had. It's been vacant forever, so they're now subject to the fee. So those are two different scenarios that we're dealing with quite a bit, all right?
So we should look at both of those
So we could
scenarios.
look at both of those and see how we could make adjustments on those people.
Right,
I would like to add, though, that we really should look at some proof of what's going on with that. And
Certainly.
we need some verification of the fact that their home was destroyed. We can look at documents, this type of thing.
Sure, you could
So-
give us a scenario on what we would have to have, and who would be the final arbiter of that? Who would make that decision?
Well,
Would there
as
be a list of approved ones that had to be approved, or would there be, or
Yeah,
would
yeah.
you all be the final arbiter? I mean, I don't know what it looks like, but I certainly think there has to be a way
Yeah.
to accommodate folks in a natural disaster.
Okay.
Specifically a natural disaster of this kind of proportion, and certainly maybe even in smaller ones.
Yeah.
If the chairman will allow, I have a couple of other questions, or we can come back to them.
Oh, yeah, the same topic, I'm sure.
Yes, same
Go ahead.
topic. So I noticed that 12 of the 24 topics, categories, have a reduction in
Yes,
fee
right.
on both, in fact, 24 of 24 on the West Bank and 12 of 24 on the East Bank. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, right.
Okay. The most dramatic being a 36% reduction relative to the mobile homes.
Correct,
And the next one being warehouses at a 30% reduction.
right.
And this is all a reflection of, just for the sake of folks understanding, this is a reflection of the reduction from what would have been the updated fee
Correct.
amount.
If you look at the column that says the updated fee amount at 100%, you'll see the relative change from the old fee to the new fee without any
Correct.
adjustments, all right? And as you can see, the only one that actually went down is the mobile home park under 1,500 square feet, and that's because that's a new category that we just created, all right? So everything else went up, and that's basically, the reason they went up is the cost difference between 2006 cost of construction and the 2017, where we are
Wonderful.
now.
I got it.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you. And my other question would be relative to the exemption that you showed us from St. Tammany.
Mhm.
So who would approve these exemptions?
Well, as it stands now, the administrator of the impact fee, which is me, actually, so I'm the guy who gets the phone calls.
I'm glad you've got that.
Yeah. Well, having had the experience with it before with impact fees, I, decided that that's probably where it should be, so,
Thank you.
If there's an appeal to it, we can appeal to the council. Or we can create an appeals board, whatever you'd like to do with that. You know, we can do.
My recommendation would certainly be that we don't create another appeals board, but that we appeal to the council.
Okay,
But,
We
I
can
mean,
do
that's
that.
just me.
we can do that.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Councilman Cloyd?
Yeah, real quick, back to the, we've covered the West Bank and the mobile home parks. The hardship to St. Tammany proposal that you're showing us that they've apparently, they pretty much went through it and looked at it and came up with that over a good period of time, because they've been in.
They have.
It has 100% to do with income or ability to pay.
That's correct. It's an economic
It has nothing to do
hardship.
with any event such as the flood, any hurricane, anything.
Right.
And what they're having to do now, if they give the hardship, they have to go into one of their funds and replace it.
That's correct.
And it probably has to come out of that same fund, since you can't grab it out of some other fund. You can't take it from sewer, you can't take it from drainage, you know?
Well, it very likely it'd come from the general fund,
Yeah.
because we
And
cannot
that's just
pull
the
it from
easiest
other
place to tap.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's more watered down, I would believe. But anyway, so I just want to make clear to everybody that this hardship that they got in St. Tammany is based strictly on income.
It's based on economics, correct. That's correct. And what we'll do, based on your direction tonight, we'll create another hardship, so to speak, application form. If they've been flooded, they're subject to flood damage, things of this sort, we'll create something else that we'll have them fill out, and we can approve, and we can get them an exemption to the fee based on that.
Councilman Cagliari? Oh, I
Well, one more
apologize.
question. Talking about the credits for the infrastructure improvements.
Yes, sir.
Just briefly for the audience and the people watching, what are you looking at there? Who's gonna end up with credits?
Well, the credit would be the developer who actually improves the road or highway, right? So, as an example, we have one sitting on our desk that's looking for a credit for a portion of Highway 44. So they're being asked by DOTD to widen the road within a certain section. And, with the approval of this new report, we can certainly give them a credit for that. Under the credit program, we'd have to enter into a credit agreement with the developer. Basically, it states out from an engineering perspective what's being done, how much it's going to cost. We bring that agreement to the council for approval, and anything over $150,000 credit has to have council approval right now. So we basically bring that before you and say, this is what's happening with this, all right?
And I think that's good if it's going directly to what we're doing, impact fees, transportation impact
Yeah.
fees, it's going directly to a transportation improvement.
Yeah, and it's a real win-win, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Councilman Cagliari?
Going back to the one that you said we create for a hardship, not a hardship, but a disaster or emergency, would that be a waiver of the fees? You wouldn't exempt them, because what I'm trying to avoid is having to go to another fund to collect something. We're just going to waive those fees in those situations?
Gotta replace it.
Let me look into that one, because I've
Okay,
been
well,
looking at it as an exemption and having the fee would come from another source, but
Okay.
that might be something we need to look at.
Well,
I can report back when we go to council on that, if
That'd
that's
be
okay
fine.
with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
He don't count.
Chairman Dawes?
He ain't on the committee.
First, if they want.
No, go ahead.
Couple of things I
It's that
wanted to,
orange shirt, just keeps attracting my attention.
it says on here, the very, very lowest level of household income pursuant to to HUD, income threshold limits. So, I don't know that much about that, but we've done some food with that a little bit in the past, and there's a percentage of, usually you see a percentage there.
Correct.
So I would just like for you to check that and see if there's a precise number that needs to go there.
Okay,
Also, we had talked about a change in the map, because we have some roads that are not, that have segments that are not in the,
that's correct. And I'm glad you brought that up. That wasn't on my list. But the report basically shows on figure 1, and I'll put this up, hopefully that can pop out there. there were certain road segments, and in fact, the road segment that we were talking about, that I was mentioning earlier, where DOTD is requiring the developer to increase, was not part of the impact fee program. So Figure 1 shows the major roadway system in red, and these are the roads that are applicable for a credit, and they're also the roads that we're looking to spend the funds on that we collect from the impact fee program. The gap that you were describing, Councilman Dawson, was between Interstate 10 and Loosemore, right along where Conroe's being built, and they're looking to build a big traffic circle. In the past report in 2006, that particular road segment was eliminated, was omitted from the program. We are now placing that in there. All right, so that would be eligible for both credit, and it would be eligible to use some of the funds for.
So if this is passed along, what we're asking is that the council adopt this new table and additionally adopt this new map. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
Yeah, the report includes the map. Correct.
Okay.
So if you adopt a report, you're adopting the map. Yes.
Also, we had talked about at one time, perhaps rebating because we added this use in for the trailers that are not in mobile home parks. And we talked about the possibility of rebating to people that had paid that over the last year.
That would be a decision that the council would make.
Okay.
And we're able to do that if you decide to do so.
A fairly significant amount of money for a lot of people. That would be $1,100 versus about $1,900. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And
Well, it's about 1,700 now, I think 1,723. So, or depending on.
yeah, 1725, right.
Okay, there you go, yeah.
So it'd be $600, and the council can do that without reimbursing from general fund or anything. They can do that out of the impact fee money. Is that correct?
Yeah, because it was paid into the impact fee
Right.
money, we could reimburse it out of
And if we talk about, we talk about the,
it. Now, may I clarify something?
sure.
If you give me direction, I will, I don't know how we're gonna do this. We could possibly send notices to the people but I would imagine we're gonna have to get some kind of affidavit showing that they had paid the fee, number one, and number two, have them apply to get the reimbursement so that I can move that through.
Well, I mean, we should have
purchasing
a
and
record of
finance.
that.
Yeah,
Don't we have a
we
record?
have a record, yeah.
So just over the last year. I don't know, that's at the discretion of whether the committee wants to push that forward or not. I guess my other thing, housekeeping wise, engineer news record that cost of construction,
Yes, sir.
I guess we need, I want to make sure that index is specifically called out because they have,
Yeah.
they have 100 of them, as you're aware.
Right.
And then
Yeah, I
there needs
think
to
they
be,
actually have an index for construction within Louisiana and Texas.
Correct.
And that's the line item we would reference in there.
and we need to talk about the schedule for that. So when does that index come out for the previous year?
Right.
And whether it goes into effect automatically or does it come back to the council?
Right.
Those are, little housekeeping things that we still need to figure out.
I think our recommendation and the way the ordinance is written, drafted right now, is that it would be in June. So
Be
that
in
the
June,
effect,
okay.
it'd be the previous year, but the increase wouldn't be effective until June,
Okay,
right? So,
let me, can I look 1 second here and. Just to talk a little bit about the flood victims, I'm all in favor of that. I just want to make sure that if we have to reimburse that we don't put the program at risk, that if we have to reimburse that out of the general fund, which, I mean, really, to me, the difference is not $1,100 versus $1,700 or $1,900. The difference is what it was previously, which was $1,700, and whatever their addition is.
okay, I think I follow you in that one.
So, I guess, just to make sure that, we look at that, and if you say that we don't have to reimburse that, then I'm okay with that, but
Okay,
I just want to make sure that we don't put the program at risk.
okay,
That's all.
yeah. Well, I need to make sure that we're talking about just mobile home users, though.
Well,
Or
I
is it-
think,
or is it-
what I'm hearing is you're talking about anybody that was affected by the flood, and no
Yeah.
matter whether they built on their lot or they went to a new lot, that they would have some exemption.
Relief. Waiver, whatever the
Okay.
appropriate
I
term
mean, you
would
can't
be.
really waiver,
Okay.
is that,
Well, we'll
I
work
mean,
out
would-
the terminology, but I guess maybe I'm a little confused. Are you talking about the people who we're going to reimburse the funds that have already been paid? Or that's going to be
well, I'm
eligible
sorry,
just-
maybe I jumped around on you, but we were talking about the people that were flooded, and if somebody was flooded and they rebuilt on their current
Okay, I'm with you.
property, and they built at in a higher square footage or a higher use, then we would exempt that delta.
Oh, okay, okay, I
Then-
got you now.
Then we would have to, I think we need to reimburse that out of the general fund on this emergency basis.
Yeah.
And now they're saying even if if somebody goes off to Prairieville and rebuilds from Santamar, then you're talking about a full fee that would be, have to be reimbursed.
Right, that's correct. I'm with you now. I apologize.
Somewhere there it is. Councilman Lambert, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Jerome, where did y'all come from with the 70% on the East Bank instead of, where did that percentage come from? To balance it, make
Well-
it even, or what?
Well, the 70% was basically just try and get us what we're collecting now. So we didn't want to increase the fee necessarily. We know that the fee is being recommended at these percentages when you look at the 100% of the fee, when you update it. What we're trying to do is not create a real hardship for anybody in the parish. So what we'd like to do is adopt the new fee program with the updated fees, but we're only going to levy them at 70%, which puts us at what we're collecting right now. So it basically balances out the fees in terms of what we're collecting it kind of equals out what we're doing at this point.
And what would be the, to go 60%? To get it down lower? I know we're doing the West Bank, and that's fine. You know, I know they're trying to bring in the economy there, but we don't want to deter, you know, our businesses from growing. We got a lot of housetops, and we want the businesses to come, where your taxes are coming in at. And,
Well, we'd be collecting less than we're collecting now, you know.
And what's the problem with that?
I mean, that's the decision you guys need to make.
You know,
It's less money in the pot to build facilities. And if the if we actually give credits, we'd be giving less credit to a developer for building a particular facility. So, I mean,
you know,
that's a decision the
'cause
council has to
on
make.
everything other than the West Bank change, we really didn't change a lot other than try to keep it the same.
That's about it. You know, we tried to keep the fees pretty much where they are right now. You know, that was the purpose of the 70%.
Do you have any questions?
Or I guess my big question is there a timeline we have to move on this tonight? Because I think they got a lot of changes that might need to be looked at and brought back to us.
Well, I mean, that'll be up to the council. If there's a motion on it, we can vote on it.
I would think that you could move to bring this to the full council, and we can make those changes at, you know, because this will be an ordinance, change the ordinance, would it not?
Yeah, if we don't change anything, they stay as they are, including the mobile home costs can be much higher. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Well, there you go.
Councilman Clark?
Yeah, I just, just looking at the map, I mean, I'd be all right with the West Bank, but I'd like to see District 6 also at the same rate of the West Bank.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of houses out, okay?
Okay.
If we see one day to go back, we'll go back.
Have to change the zones.
I'm gonna have to check with our consultant on whether we can actually do that, because the way he's got the report written, he's basically divided the parish into the West Bank and the East Bank. The East Bank has two different zones, the North Zone and the South Zone.
Yeah, and
But
that
it-
wasn't my choice either, so.
I know. Okay.
Fact is, it cuts right across the middle of mine, all
Okay.
right? And I think the driving factor for the impact fees was based on the very populated districts in the north, okay?
Okay.
Right, mine's not one of them,
Okay,
and I got special circumstances right now, and I'd just like for somebody to actually listen to that,
okay.
that's all.
I think across the board, let's cut it to 50% instead of 70%. Being this year, and then we can look at it again next year. Being the hardship that everybody had, and it's not just, I know Randy's hit hard, but, you know, it's all our districts. You know, Bill, yours got hit pretty good in the Sorrento area. John, yours got hit real bad in Gonzales, you know. I had some, but not nowhere close to what y'all had, but, Galvez, Dempsey's district, Aaron's district, you know, got hit. Miss Terry's, definitely. I don't know. It is a hardship across the whole parish if you look at it, and,
But if I could clarify, it's only, you only get hit with impact fee if you're building a house larger than what you had before, if you're making.
Correct.
And not just larger, but it has to be, if you had a 2,000 square foot house before, you have to be building a 3,000 square foot house now. That's the only way you would get hit with an impact fee. Is that correct?
Correct. If you had a house there on that same location.
but
Right.
in that case,
Right.
I wouldn't want that. I'm kind of like Randy. I don't want that to even, you know, if it's a little bit bigger, you know, you was already, the dwelling was there already. You impacted all you're going to impact. I would say, you know, eliminate that impact fee altogether on that flood home
So
completely.
despite the difference in size.
Despite the difference.
Okay, all right.
I have a
But I
question.
would like to add, though, you know, the fees, the bulk of the fees that we're collecting are from the development community. You know, all the new subdivisions that are out there.
That's where the majority is coming from, correct?
Correct, that's correct. So if we reduce the fees because we're trying to give a break to some of the people that are having a hardship, the fees will be reduced for everybody, not just those. So,
Well, can we work on the hardship as you was talking about?
we can do that, certainly.
Okay, so, I mean, tonight, I'm not gonna agree to give the West Bank 25%
Okay.
versus what my folks up against.
Okay.
I think it needs some more discussion about what we're gonna do for the people that are flooded out.
Okay.
I have a question about the St. Tammany exemption. Has there been, are there any other areas that do an extension versus an exemption? So to say, to give somebody 5, 10 years to pay, because I don't think this flood should define us. It shouldn't define where we are. We're going to get better. We're going to improve. We already are.
Right.
Has that ever been looked at in any other areas?
I haven't seen it, again, Ascension and St. Tammany, they're the only two parishes in the state that have the impact.
I mean nationwide, though.
But nationwide, I know there was a big push, again, when I was on the West Coast, to where we would have the fee apply when, not when a building permit was issued, but when an occupancy permit
Right.
was issued. And that basically placated a big part of the development community, because what happens is that they're going out, they're pulling 20 building permits at a time. It's a big cash outlay for them, and they would be able to kind of defer the payment, you know, for a longer period of time until the occupancy permit was pulled instead of the building permit issued. That's a possibility, and that's been used elsewhere. But in terms of a payment program, I don't know of any. Now, I do know that one of the mobile home dealers here in the parish has contacted us, and they've told us that if their home sale carries with the property, so they're combining it in the loan, they will roll the fee into the loan. You know, so they're trying to work with some of the property owners as well.
So we could be the first in the nation.
We could be innovative on that one.
Councilman Cassie.
I'll just share with you that just as a example of what happened for me and with me in Livingston Parish, I owned a piece of property that fronted a road that was gravel. And the homeowners going to our camps wanted that road to be blacktopped, asphalted. There was no money in Livingston Parish's budget to do that. And so we agreed that we would pay for that asphalting over a period of 10 years. And that was attached to my tax bill. And every year I sent them, you know, whatever the amount was that covered. And it was, for me, it was whoever had the most frontage, I happen to have the most frontage, that paid the most.
Yeah.
But that was how it was based, and we paid for it over time. So I don't understand why we couldn't innovate and find a way for people to pay over time an impact fee.
Okay.
When you start getting down to just, you know, double-digit numbers a year, that's almost inconsequential.
Well, that concept that you just described is really an assessment district type concept. That is available to public agencies throughout the state of Louisiana through certain state legislation. New Orleans has used it a lot. Other parishes have used it quite a bit. And state law basically prescribes that you have to charge on a front footage basis. But that revenue stream that you're generating over a 10-year period or how long it takes, you can take to the bond market and actually do municipal bonds with that. And
I'm
so
sure
that's
that's
a
what
big
happened.
way of raising funds to fund infrastructure, you know. So that's, you know, something, but it's apart from the fee program. It's not the fee program.
I just use this as an example to say, can't we think about
Right.
how we could creatively allow people to pay their impact fee over time?
Okay?
Even if it's it might be an accounting nightmare, but I mean, we have a finance department that's up to the job.
Okay.
And, you know, how could we do it? And could it be collected through the sheriff's office? I mean, what would the instrument be by which we would have to do that?
Okay.
And
Well, I
that way
will
we would
look
have
into that
less
for you.
burden
All right.
on perhaps a challenged, you know, an individual already financially strapped that might be looking for an exemption. And then as opposed to an exemption, we're looking to have people pay their fee over time.
I have had people inquire about that, come into the office.
Yeah. I would think most people would be delighted to do that.
Okay.
Councilman Clark?
Yeah, just real quick. Basically, I want to make clear to everybody that you refer to the deferment based on at the time of the permit or the time of occupancy is generally, you know, contractor in the subdivision that put that off, you know?
Right.
And that it's still not changing the fee.
No, it isn't
It didn't
changing
change
the
the
fee.
fee one bit. So
Right.
they had to pay the fee,
Right.
right?
But you're collecting it at a different time. So you're giving them a little bit money. People are putting deposits on homes. You know, they're entering into contracts. They're getting their cash flow in, you know, the developer is. So they're paying at a little later date, but we're still getting the fee. You're right.
I just once more, you know, and I'm a take the stance as a councilman for District 6, is that, you know, while we're not Downsville and not Prairieville, we're definitely not Prairieville, okay? All right? So, but we're being shuffled into that top percentile.
Yeah.
All right? And the fact is, this St. Tammany deal, I have a large number of people that lost their home, okay, that hadn't planned, that lived in a home that was good enough for them to live the rest of their life. But they're not broke,
Right.
and they're not gonna qualify for that.
Right.
You understand?
No, I understand.
Still, they're gonna be bludgeoned by not being able to qualify for a whole lot of things that are being handed out, okay?
Right.
All right? So, you know, this is just one more.
Okay.
And
Well-
if we need to look at the flooded victims one time, I don't have a problem with that up front, because some of this is too much to encompass in one vote
Right.
or one take. Look, we send you back to the drawing board. We got a meeting in 2 weeks, you know, or next week.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have all this squared up by then,
No, I understand.
and I wouldn't expect you to.
Okay.
You know, it took us a while to get to this point where we are.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna back away from the fact that we have some people that are hurt in at least 5 to 7 of these, or 8 of the 11 districts that probably need some compensation
Okay.
for the event. And there's a lot about this impact fee, as it is fairly new. You know, it hadn't been around that long. And people are just finding out, and they're only finding out when they go over there to get a permit
Right.
or to do something.
Right.
You know, no matter how many of these meetings they've watched, they don't fully, you know, it's not fully there.
No, I understand.
Um,
Well, we'll go back to the drawing board, and if you'd like me to come back to the meeting next month with some solutions, hopeful solutions to some of the issues that are brought up, I'll be happy to do
I
that.
agree with trying to reduce
Yeah.
these as you have it,
Mhm.
okay? I don't agree with the 25% on the West Bank versus 70% in Santa Monica, okay?
All right.
But I agree with what you're trying to do here,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah.
And it's just by the fact that that could be done is basically that the West Bank was segregated off by itself as a district,
Right.
right? Which the other two districts run straight through the middle of my area.
Right.
Thanks, sir.
Is there any more discussion? Is there a motion?
Maybe, if we want him to go back, I'd like to maybe get a clarification on exactly all the things we want him to look at.
I'll be reviewing his tape, believe me.
A waiver for those who were affected by the flood.
Well, if we'd like,
There's so much you can do legally.
The other thing to
Councilman
consider is if,
Yeah.
when you do a proposal, of course, offer options, but a
Right.
time frame. If
I
this is gonna be considered, an emergency, how long will we keep this, fee schedule, in
Okay.
force
Okay.
versus,
Right.
I would think, you can't say forever, give people a certain amount of time to recover and.
Right. Okay.
Councilwoman Cazzo.
The only thing I do want to do is caution us. It took 10 years to get to impact fees in Ascension Parish. I do not believe that we should allow a catastrophic event that can be accommodated any other way to cause us to roll that back in such a way that we impact our collection of fees going forward permanently. We have too much work to do in this parish, transportation-wise. And we are about to embark, as I think you will see later in this meeting, on an ambitious program to do that. And so I would just caution everyone on this committee and going forward that we do not need to go backwards. We need to find ways to modify what we are doing to accommodate this catastrophic event. That would be my hope.
I have a question, and I don't know how our accounting process works. Is it possible to look at the fees that we have accumulated over the past year or so and determine from which categories they're coming from?
Oh, sure. You mean like single-family attached homes,
Correct.
mobile homes, or whether it's commercial structure? Yeah, we can do
Is
that.
that something we could also look at the next meeting? I know you'll watch this video, and it'll
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
take you 3 hours to get through it again and again and again, but
Yeah.
if you could add that in there also.
Yeah, I will do that. We'll look at
Thank you.
that.
Do we have any more discussion on this? So what we ask is that you return next meeting. I don't have the date of that, and we'll take this topic up once again. It will be on the agenda.
Okay.
And at that time, I'd like to get us, one way or another, we move this forward to the full council at the next meeting after we have clarification.
Sure. Be happy to. Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to agenda item number 7. It's a discussion of acceptance into the parish system of roads. Mr. DeArmond, there you go.
Yes, I have two subdivisions tonight. The maintenance bond is shortly running out on them, and this is a process we go through to take them into the parish maintenance system. If you notice, when the package was put together, there is some red markings where the contractor needed to go back and do some crack seal. I just want you to know tonight, these were notified ahead of time. The two subdivisions I'm gonna be bringing in, and those problems have been taken care of in these two subdivisions.
Okay, thank you very
So
much.
they'll be clean to take in tonight. We'll go through, the first one is the Groves at Ascension. Pine View Drive, it's 1,220 feet. Do y'all want to take them in one at a time, or you want to go through the whole
We
list?
do one at a time.
Okay,
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, do we have any questions, any objections? Accepted.
Orchard Way Drive, 360 feet.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, any objections? None. Accepted.
Meadow Grove Drive, 1,305 feet.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, any objections? None. So moved.
Cypress Knee Drive, 420 feet.
Motion.
Second.
Any objections? None. So moved.
Okay, next one is Rivers Landing subdivision, second filing. It's an extension to the first filing, and the road name is River Landing Drive. The extension's 1,650 feet.
Motion.
Second.
And we have a second by Councilman Cagnalotti. Any questions, any objections?
Real
Councilman
quick,
Fuller.
as we wrap up the roads, this is another mile of road we're taking in for the rest of our lives, all right?
Yep.
We got to keep up. Thank you.
All right, we'll go to 7A.
7A, yes.
Okay, last month we brought these roads.
I don't
to-
believe I said accepted.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ricky, I'm sorry.
Last month, we had two subdivisions that we were looking at taking the roads in, but because they hadn't done the crack seal, slurry seal on the cracks, we just took in their turn lanes that didn't have problems. So I'm bringing one back up tonight, and that would be Woodland Manor, first filing, and the first road in that filing is Superior Woods Avenue,
Motion.
13 feet.
Okay, we have a motion? And a second by Councilman Lambert. Any questions, any objections? So moved.
The second road was Grand Wood Avenue, 1,076 feet.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any questions, any objections? None? So moved.
The other one that we didn't take last month, I'll wait till we get it cleared up before I bring it back.
Okay, thank you for your work on this. I would like to just say one thing. It's nice that we're pushing to get these roads in a proper condition before we accept them. That's a good move for the parish. Because like Councilman Court said, we're accepting them forever. We might as well accept them at the highest level that we can get them when we get them, and we'll go on from there with them. Okay, agenda item number 8, the DPW report. Mr. Rue? Thank you. Yeah, pass it on down.
We like to see which district these in.
You know every road in your district, we know that.
This is for report only.
Councilman Lawler asked for some information on DPW Pavement Management Group, and I'm here to answer some questions. First off is the fact that the pavement management is really pavement preservation. What we're trying to do is doing certain types of treatments on some of these local roads, parish roads, to make them last longer before they need the full reconstruction. So basically what we're looking at is some crack sealing, maybe some slurry sealing, pavement sealing, and also some light overlay, which is the wear course, the top coat, maybe an inch, inch and a half, resurfacing of the road. What we're not doing is any type of full reconstruction. That is under contract, with the transportation section of DPW. Capital project. It's not capital project. This is normal operations of DPW and funded through the budget that y'all approve at the end of the year. So that's basically what the service is for. This is a tentative schedule of what's ahead of this group, and put some time dates on it. And it's something that we really are going to be doing with all our work orders, but this is pretty easy to get started on with this program. And again, some of these roads are going to be full top layer wear course overlay, but a lot of them are just sectional repair. We have a lot of problems in the parish with trees. The roots of trees getting too close to the pavement. Well, we have to go in and do maybe a half of the road reconstruct it because of the proximity to trees and roots. And Brittany Street is a famous road that we always go on the back on all the time because of these functions, these problems. It's also for when we have to go in and do a subsurface drainage improvement, Pelican Point being most notable. And we have to cut out a section to get to the culverts and to reconstruct and fix the problem. And what we've been doing is going back and a lot of time leaving it gravel. With this group now, we go back immediately, pack it down, and come back with a asphalt hot mix on top of it to make it functional until we can the transportation group can come in and do a full reconstruction of the whole road. So basically, that's the function of this group.
How do you pick these roads?
Yeah, that was,
Purely subjective. These are all the roads that we've been having problems with, and it's from experience. The group that works on this, that's all they've been doing for the most part for the last 10 years, 15 years. And they put the list together. It's a random selection for the most part because all of them are pretty much fit the same criteria. They've all been in need of some temporary repair or sectional repair. And to be honest with you, purely subjective and just randomly picked.
We have a new piece of equipment, right, that we're able to do this with.
We have.
That's part of the
a-
reason I want you to
That's
come
right.
today and talk a little bit about
We
that.
have new equipment that was in our last year's budget, and we finally were able to get some of the equipment that had to do with the paving machine, absolutely with which apply the actual hot mix pave. We have a motor grader, which has dual purpose. Number one is for the leveling off of the surface, but also much of our problem has to do with the shoulders of roads, the height of the shoulders of road, grass growing onto the road, preventing drainage from leaving the surface. And one of our projects or commitments is to go through a number of these roads and shave the shoulder so you get proper drainage off the road. And that's what the motor grader is for. So all of it is made for that purpose. But again, it's not for total reconstruction. It's for preservation of existing roads, so we make them last 4, 5, 6 more years, and maybe even longer before full reconstruction is necessary. And they also mainly own local roads, smaller parish roads that in a lot of cases, it's not really feasible to put them in a major project because they're one lane or just very small local roads, maybe has maybe just several people living down them. And so we can mobilize, get these people out, do some preservation of that road, and make it last a good bit longer.
Okay, Councilman Floyd, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just needed clarification, Bill, based on my ignorance. You got West Robert Wilson. You and I know that Robert Wilson does a horseshoe loop, basically. So what is West? Is that it?
That's just the name of the road is West.
That's just
Yeah.
called West? I thought
That's
maybe
it.
that ditch in the middle divided.
No, they call it West Robert Wilson in case they ever come in with the east at any time in the
Yeah.
future. I guess, I don't know, that's just
I just figured that.
the name they came up with. And we're doing sectional repairs on that too. Again, we're not
Yeah.
gonna be total reconstruction. The problem with that, we have heavy truck traffic on a portion of it. And, of course, it's a bonding situation for us. The company had to put a bond on that. And we're gonna be pulling his bond, which will be going toward our material cost to do sectional repairs of it.
Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, Bill, I know you brought to us on this subdivision that it had a lot of work to do, millions of dollars, and I see we got 16 days on Pelican Point.
That's just for some sectional repairs.
Okay, that's
to
not
make it
nothing
last.
to do with any of the bad sinkholes that we
It
have?
has to do with some fixing of some of the cross drains.
Okay.
That we're gonna be going in there and repairing the cross drains, and then we'll come back, pave it, and it'll be ready for full reconstruction of the whole road at a later date. But it'll give more latitude to scheduling the full reconstruction of it based on budget.
Yeah, I knew we had that report on it, and I see
Yeah.
16 days on.
No, that's
on
just to
this.
go in and hit the worst spots. We did a number of them already, I guess maybe 5 or 6, 4 or 5 spots. We wanna go ahead and fix a number of the ones that's really looking at, gonna be a problem. And again, hopefully they'll last longer, a year or so we can eventually schedule major repair to each one of them, because they got so many problems in that subdivision that it's gonna take years to get to all of them. So we got to do these temporary, repairs until we can get to the total repair.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I just want to tell you thank you once again. I get a lot of calls on Rawlings Drive, and I see it's on here. And it's great that we have the dates on here, because I can tell people now, okay, it's going to be around this period. Not going to hold you to it, but if I can give them a roundabout date, I know they'll appreciate that instead of me saying, hey, I'll
We
talk
have,
to people.
and we have more, this is just the summary of it. We have our resources fitted into, we're gonna have cost fitted into this schedule, completion percentages as we complete. So at the next transportation meeting, we'll have whatever was completed or percentage of what was done if something is in progress. And we'll have probably an expansion of the list, because it'll keep growing as we come up with other, projects and stuff like this. Our total work order system eventually will be similar to this, but much more advanced than this, with dates on everything that we do.
The piece of machinery that we bought, how much did that cost?
I think altogether, about 3 or 4 pieces that goes together, 250,000 maybe. You figure all of it in. But the useful life, especially the way we're using it, is at least 6 to 7 years, or more if you take care of it.
No, it's
So,
very good. I'm not
So I
complaining about
think-
the cost
Yeah,
whatsoever.
it's a good, I think, a good use of our funds, and the fact that we're moving further and further into doing something that we really should have been doing years ago, and that is preservation of the roads. We are gonna advance this group into a lot higher level functioning, you know, for us identifying, or doing more predictive work on actually predicting when a failure of a road will happen in the future, so.
Councilwoman Mazza.
Two things, Bill. The first is, I would appreciate when this report is done again, that it have district numbers on it, because every now and then there's a little road
Sure.
in any of our districts that we probably don't identify right off the top.
No, I can have it. What I didn't want our people to do is to go by picking the road by district. I
And I
wanted them
understand.
just to be subjective. And again, I tell you what, for us personally, me, I'd rather go through a random, and of course, we got to note everything, but if we go with a random sampling, picking of the roads, then everything's fair. I mean, we're not using any other kind of, you know, subjective reasoning that might come into play, you know, if we just randomly sample, pick it out, and that's the order, I think it's fair for everybody.
That makes sense, and I applaud that. I'd just like to see,
Sure.
once it gets
No,
to
we can do that.
us, that we know where they are, just for that sake. And my second concern, I just want to caution the parish against going into the road construction business. That is not our area of expertise. I've had family around the asphalt business all my life. That is a complicated, very unique work that needs the right people to do it. And I am not in any way underestimating the ability of these folks to do what you are asking them to do. I am only asking you not to go beyond what they are capable of. And the next thing we know, we are laying down asphalt on roads.
No.
And we are having problems down the road that could have been prevented by having asphalt contractors do this work.
We're not getting involved in anything that can be even, you know, considered capital improvements. It's just maintenance and preservation work only. We want to get away from the old, just filling a pothole that doesn't last too long,
Thank you.
you know.
Appreciate that.
If we got especially, and we have it all the time, we have multiple potholes in one section. And to go in there and put coal mix in it, it really looks bad. It doesn't really improve the situation much. I'd rather just cut that 20-foot section out, go full depth aggregate in it, cover it over, pave it, and let it go, you know. And it lasts much longer like that. So,
I understand. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I got, not on that, but he's got some more in his report.
Yes.
I wanna,
no, that's basically, I wanted to answer any concerns about, then I can answer some questions if you have for me.
Councilman Lambert?
I have one topic that I
Yeah.
wanna bring up that, I think the public needs to know, and maybe this board might wanna look at a different avenue that we doing on, covered replacements, on covers. Right now, you know,
Right.
in the past, just to give the committee, which most of, all of us know, in the past, we've always replaced someone's cover. The homeowner had to buy the cover, and the parish would come in and replace it. And we eliminated it on state highways, but from what I'm hearing now, we don't do them on parish roads anymore. And that is probably one of the only physical, I guess, service that we did to our citizens, is doing that job. You know, you get a crushed cover, you get a
Right.
cover that's too small, that was put in years ago, and the homeowner wants to replace the cover, and, you know, I don't know if we can go back to that, Bill, and that's what I'm here
Well,
bringing this
this
up.
is-
Because right now, the only policy they have now, the first time, if you got a lot, they'll come dig the ditch. If you have the cover on site, they'll roll it in and walk away from it. They won't replace a cover
Well,
or put any topping on it.
I'm glad you bring it up, because we're in
Yeah,
a bad situation.
yeah.
And some of this came to light, be honest with you, with some of the happenings in St. James Parish, and proteges of mine from that parish, and I started looking back at some things, and so we started actually pulling the law. We have an ordinance in Ascension Parish that basically follows the state ordinance, but it also says in there that the parish may go in there and place the cover. If they buy the material, place it for the person and everything else. However, state law doesn't say that. State law is specific, and it passed it after we had our ordinance. We had this ordinance for many years.
Right.
State law basically just says if the parish wants to, they can place ordinances in parish ordinances in place where the parish will go in and assist property owners in placing covers in the ditches and doing work of that type, blah, blah, blah. Road ditches or off-road, any ditch. Okay, now, however, this is a fairly new part of the law. The last sentence of that law says, however, if the parish wants to put this ordinance in place, they still cannot do it unless the property owner reimburses the parish 100% for labor and material of doing that work. So basically it say, look, if the parish wants to go into business of doing this, fine. It doesn't relieve the property owner from paying full cost, labor and material. And that's where the problem is. What I don't want to do is get involved with something that we violate state law. And it says it plain and simple.
Has this law just recently changed? Have we been doing it for 30
I
years?
think about-
Have we been doing it illegal for
I
30
think,
years?
no, I think about 5, 6, 7 years ago, they revised it. It's a covered type law that was passed. So we've been, going by our ordinance pretty much. I sent this to Cody, to the attorney, and he reviewed it and he come to the same conclusion. I said, we got, if it's not for public good as a whole, parish shouldn't be doing it.
But I think it is a good as a whole, in one way, where if the parish does it, they know it's gonna be shot to grade and the coverts are gonna be lined up where we don't have any drainage issues with
But
the
we do
neighbors
that,
up and
we do that
downstream of it.
anyway.
Yeah.
We go out there, the cover man goes out there and shoots the grade and specifies what size cover needs to go in there and what is the elevation it needs to be set at. Now, we do that already. And it's up to the property owner now to go in and do the rest of the work. But again, I
guess
I'm in a bad situation here because if I order my people to go do it and it violates state law, then I'm liable to get called on the carpet for it. I'm liable to say, you're violating the law. And if you look at the law, it's pretty simple. And I'm going to send it to everybody. In fact, we print it out and give it to people when we go out there now and say, look, we're between a rock and a hard place on this.
I know we have passed ordinance that superseded state laws.
I think it's the other way around. I think the state law supersedes us. If in fact they come out with a law after us, then, we liable to follow them, not them follow us.
How do we set the costs? If we're doing it before, were we being reimbursed?
No,
Okay.
never was.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it drainage behind people's houses. They buy for the material, we put it in. But, I didn't, really research the law since I think they did it, they changed it a few years ago, 6, 7 years ago. But any case, and the other thing, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. I get scared. Well, we didn't know anything about it. That doesn't hold water too much. It's our responsibility to know. And up until the time I get full council authorization to do this work, I just can't do it. And in fact, if you decide to start doing it again, I'm gonna have to take every cover to y'all and say, do you wanna do it, don't wanna do it, and get full council authorization to do every one, one at a time.
And I'm all for doing what's legal, but it's kind of upsetting to come back right now, and we've been doing it for years in the past years, and now we're coming to us and saying it's illegal.
Well, when we research the law a little bit, we're going by our parish ordinance.
Yeah.
And the state law says something different.
Kind of like the bridges.
The bridges came back from the Attorney General.
Same thing, boom.
Said, don't do it unless it's, the main use of that structure is for public use. We're not allowed to do it. So,
Councilman Satterley, I'd like to speak on this. You can stay up there, Bill.
Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. I didn't fill out a card or anything, but I'd be willing to do that.
3 minutes.
The reason I'm here, I'll be very brief. Bill knows this. My personal residence, the culvert in front of my driveway has deteriorated. It's one of those metal corrugated, it's not reinforced concrete RCP pipe. Bill has informed me by email that in the past, as you've just been talking about, we've been doing this, but now no more with this state law. I've looked at that. I'm not an attorney again. You are, Aaron, and many other people. I know you said Cody's looked at it well, but I would caution this committee to take a real good look at what Bill's talking about, because as far as public purpose is concerned, let's consider not just lining up culverts, but like upstream of me, everything that drains from the 12 or 15 homes in my subdivision passes in front of my house and then goes from that ditch on Greenbrier into Highway 427, the main ditch, which we know is Old Perkins Road, and into Bayou Manchac. So in a way, in a large way, a truthful way, my deteriorated culvert, if I stonewall, we talked about people with guns and meeting people earlier this afternoon and so forth, I'm not willing to do that. But if I don't change that, guess what? All my neighbors upstream, as far as public purpose, their ditches are overflowing with the MODAD treated sewer. It's going right in that ditch, as well as the flood water, et cetera. And it is a mess right now. Now, obviously, that's a drainage servitude, belongs to the Parish of Ascension. The pipe in the ground belongs to the Parish. I obviously need to cross it to get to my home, and all my guests too as well, including all my constituents that come and see me like they come see you and complain to each and every one of you. But I would maintain that's a public purpose. And and I'm not looking just to get out of it. I mean, I told Bill, in fact, he said, I'll supply you a list of contractors, which I'm still waiting for, Bill. Because I'll just go ahead and do it, because frankly, I don't want my constituents to even see an Ascension Parish truck up in front of my house thinking that I'm getting some sort of special treatment, unless I could absolutely explain, as Todd was saying a minute ago, we've always done it this way, and that same treatment's available to you. So I would say to this committee, let's be sure we either have the program still, we're going to keep doing it, we understand this quote, new state law, whatever it is. In fact, I would give this challenge to everyone. I'd like to see that law discussed. I've seen it, but I would think y'all would want to see it, to decide and be sure that Cody, whoever, is interpreting this correctly. Because right now, I mean, Eddie Lambert lives 2 doors down from me, Senator Lambert. And right now, his flood water can't pass out of his house, and his ditch stays wet. I'm wondering, he has not complained, by the way, but my next door neighbor has, in between Eddie and I, that when are you going to do something about that ditch? And I keep telling him I'm looking into it. Thank y'all for listening.
Well, let me just comment just on that real quick. There are circumstances that I feel safe in going in and doing all the work. If we get into a situation where we're dredging a channel and there's a bridge that has to be removed, we're enlarging it, we're responsible to replace what was there. If we go through all these subdivisions and we have to realign all the culverts because everything's screwed up, then we're responsible to replace them because we're upgrading the situation to a bigger cover, bigger ditch, and everything else. So it's our responsibility in that situation to replace them because we're pulling it up. We're mandating something change. What we're mainly talking about is just, for the most part, requests from property owners to say, look, I want to put a frontage in. We never did allow that.
No, we don't do that.
The second thing is, but they call up and they say, I want a driveway culvert put in. I want covers in my back ditch. I'll pay for the cover, y'all come put it in. Those type of situations is, we can put all kind of excuses on it to go in, but it's primarily for the use of that owner. Even a driveway cover. It's almost exclusively for the use of that property owner to drive his car onto his property. So to say it's the good of the public to use that necessary for the public for use, then it's kind of stretching it, I think. And again, I'm just trying to protect the parish, trying to protect us, just putting the word out there to the situation out there to you. If we can find a way out, be glad to go back to the old system. I just can't on my own make that determination.
Councilman McClure?
Yeah, I was just wondering, we'd mentioned earlier, and I know Mr. Sadler was talking about his culvert, and Senator Lambert and all. While we're on that, the state roads, we talked about the state roads earlier. State responded to the state roads.
They're doing the same thing they always done.
You're
They don't get involved.
They're not
State
getting,
never
well, the
did.
state's generally not getting the call. We generally getting the call in the parish.
But the state is saying we're not gonna do anything. That's up to you. You know, we'll give you the size cover, and we'll tell you the elevation. It needs to be said that. The rest of it's on your own. And they've been like that for years, you
That's
know.
why I just wanna make sure.
And I think there's a reason for that. It's more than just cost and budget problems. I think it has a lot to do with this law.
Because we, you know, like I said, we just,
And let me correct
it is.
a fallacy out there. The parish owns, for the most part, and I'll give you for, in Parker Road, Boudreaux Road, Joseph Ario, some of those roads that are reconstruction, we own the servitude. We bought, fee title, bought the servitude. So it's ownership of that section. That's about the only ones, except for some subdivisions that dedicated the stuff to us. Newer subdivision and everything else. For the most part, all parish roads, for the most part, own that ditch behind, especially behind the person's house. We may have a servitude on it. The only thing a servitude does give us two things. Number one, give us the right to maintain that drainage ditch or whatever it is, and gives us the obligation to maintain it. Other than that, that's it. We don't own anything. And it's a famous quotation around public works for years now. A tree, a fine growing tree next to a ditch belongs to the landowner until it dies. Then it belongs to the parish. And that's tradition.
I got one on Pico Road right now.
But they say, well, it's in your servitude, so you own it. We don't own servitude. That's just an obligation for us to maintain and a right to maintain. Other than that, we have no ownership, anything on it unless it impedes drainage. We have no right to touch it at all. So that's another thing that is constant around public works.
Chairman Dawson.
Just a couple of questions. Are we still doing the inspection and sizing? on
Oh,
it?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. And we're
Absolutely.
doing it, are we doing that in Sorrento also?
In the city?
Not in the,
Well, we were doing it.
we were doing it as a favor. We don't mind helping out, but it's not our obligation to do it inside the city, on roads in the city. Off roads, yes. Same as the city of Gonzales and Donaldsonville.
They pay the drainage.
We're not obligated to do the road, culvert, inspection. We have done it in the past, mostly for Sorrento, and not for Gonzales at all. They do their own work.
Okay.
Any more questions, Todd?
No, I think that's it.
Or is there something we'd like,
No, I just, reporting
come
and
back
and
and-
discussion today. And I'll be glad to come back at another meeting with, some more details of what you ever, you request me to get for you.
Maybe get our legal, you
Sure.
said you already went through our legal, but maybe
Yeah.
get our legal to give us a little input, exactly.
And again, we can go on, because we really need to treat this as all crossings, bridges and culverts, or pretty much follow the same legal judgment
I
from
know
the
we gotta
state.
stay kinda consistent, but like I say, if you had a drainage issue, if it's a drainage issue, y'all come in and,
Again, if we're doing a project,
yeah.
and you can almost base it like this, if the landowner personally comes and say, look, I need for you to come in and do this work. You can basically say that, no, you can't do it. If we go to the multiple property owners and say, look, we need to do a project to change all of this, well, then that's a public works project, and it kind of opens the door for us to change, because the property owner say, I don't know, I'm good with it like it is. Leave my cover alone. But we need to change it to help everybody else out, and that's a different issue, so.
Councilman Clort?
Yeah, I just want to say after the flood and with the debris pickup trucks and things like that, starting to see some sinkholes in the middle of culverts. We're seeing culverts that are crushed based on trucks going in and out. Starting to see a lot of diminished drainage on roadside. I'm talking about roadside, not on our small parish roads, on the roadsides, because we've had a lot of truck traffic and things like that. So we're seeing a decent amount of damaged culverts.
And that's another thing that we can use as an excuse when we got a catastrophe like this or an event that caused, problems with the drainage structure and it
we got
floated
li-
up or whatever the case may be. We're allowed to go ahead and assist then.
We got a list of them in District Six,
Right.
for sure, probably several other districts. I mean, you trying to
And
get these
they-
big trucks
the-
in and out on a little driveway, a little small road and things like that, they gotta turn around somewhere. They have a hard time even putting them in the middle. I
And,
just
and
wanna bring
one
that
other thing is the whole thing we've been talking about is productivity. One of the ways of speeding everything up, eliminate the stuff we don't need to be or shouldn't be doing in the first place. And that will get us to the point of doing what we actually in business for. It's the drainage, pure drainage and improvement of systems.
Well, I'd like to make a motion, if the chair will allow me, that we seek an opinion from the Attorney General regarding these, we have our own legal opinion,
second
we
that.
have yours.
Second.
Sure.
Do we have any questions, any objections? So we have a motion by Councilwoman Cazo, a second by Councilman Lambert. So moved, we will seek an opinion from the Louisiana Attorney General's office. As to, do we know,
They can
The
cite
number of the
Councilman
ordinance?
Satterley's
Yeah.
particular.
Oh, yeah, no, we can go in and,
Go.
yeah,
That way we-
it'd be very simple for the attorney to write something up as a request.
okay,
to,
great.
to make a judgment on. And again, I know what it's my feeling, it's gonna follow the other judgments we got on bridges, and we have one on covers before from years past too. And it's gonna follow the same decision probably, especially bridges.
I think Doc's is a perfect example of how that can have an impact up the street.
Absolutely.
And so if they were going to render an opinion that might allow us to do it, that certainly might be a good example.
Okay,
Is there anything else you have to add?
that's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 9, and GSA contract amendment for Louisiana Highway 22 rehabilitation, increase in contract of $50,000 and $50,062. Mike Enla?
Yes, sorry. Yes, this is a contract supplement for GSA for the, as it says, the 22 rehabilitation, for additional field time, coordinated geotechnical work, research to rehab methods for certain segments and bridges, and some delays in time from DOTD and Parish engineers for reviews, so.
We have a motion by Councilman Kuhar.
Second.
And a second by Councilman Cagalati. Is that correct? Oh, Councilman Lambert.
I got
Oh,
one
I'm sorry.
question. John
A
made
second by Cagalati, and we have a question.
Being it's a state highway, why is the parish funding this engineering?
This is part of one of the MPO under 200K, which is an area residential threshold project. So when it gets to construction, which will be, I think, let in August, it's an 80-20 split with DOT picking up 80%, and the parish agrees to pay for the engineering.
And I see a lot of fees on the engineering as interim, is that interim engineers that's coming in? They had a lot of hours on every project with them, on almost every one of these increases.
Right, it could be EIs, which aren't PEs, and they could be doing a
I see
variety of
that's like
things.
186 hours on one job. Something like that. Thought that to be a little bit high on the interims.
Which, oh, I see.
You see what I'm talking about? And on the breakdown, well, you got line items. Like on the bottom, right by 50,000, right above it, you got 186 engineer interims. Interns.
They're in training.
Right. So that's a total of all the tasks.
Yeah, okay. You got more hours on the interns than you do the, project engineers and stuff. That's all I had a question on.
Okay, any more questions? Any objections? So moved. Moving on to agenda item number 10, approval of 2017 reconstruction overlay project list. Tacey?
This is the same list that came before y'all last meeting. However, I obtained the MPO's new PCI data, which is the pavement condition index, and I essentially reprioritize these roads based on the PCIs, which adheres to federal standards. So essentially, the way they're prioritized is the worst roads come first. So the MPO scanned these roads, rated them, and essentially the worst roads will be rebuilt first. And that's the way they are prioritized here. And you can see the second column is the PCI. You can take a look at that, and this is the order in which we will be rebuilding the roads if you guys approve.
Make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, real quick.
Councilman Clore.
All right, once again, back to DPW. Now we have North Robert Wilson.
Yes, sir.
This thing's gonna make a circle in a little while.
Right, well, Robert Wilson, if you know, it comes from 30. I think it starts with west, Robert Wilson,
Makes a
then
U.
north, then east.
Is any part of it in the city of Gonzales?
I'm sorry?
Is any part of it in the city of Gonzales, city limits?
I think a portion of East Robert Wilson, which we are not going to be
We're not
repaving.
fooling with that.
Right, that's
Good
correct.
deal.
Right by the racetrack.
That's correct. And I would like to note that the contract that we have right now is for $1.4 million with Coastal Bridge. And that money will essentially take us up to number 6, which is Trails End. If we want to reconstruct the rest of the roads, we have a couple of options. We can either bid out another contract to finish out those roads, or we can wait until next year to renew the $1.4 million. So that's something that maybe we can discuss next meeting.
Are you talking about renewing it back to the same company?
At the end of this year. They have a contract for a year for $1.4 million. Once they reach that $1.4 million, until the year's up,
Yeah,
they
run
have
out
to
of
stop
funds.
work.
I'm sorry, let me correct you. It's from the moment the date that we signed the contract,
Right,
which
right.
would be March.
That's
So there's
correct.
the option to finish these roads and renew back in March to finish these roads out, or you guys, if you want to take another option, to direct us to put out another bid to seek a contract that will run concurrent with this one.
I would
You can
make a
do that
motion
tonight.
To seek a new bid for the rest of it.
It'll be an additional bid, to run concurrent. This contract
Right.
is in place and it's signed, but that's
So we will
something
have
can do.
two contract, it would be the exact same contract, but we would have two contractors working. So we would essentially get double the work, which
Right.
personally, I feel like it's a good option. We would get a lot of work done. We also would reach our $4 million budget for the year. But that is completely up to you.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
So for clarification, you all would need to have a motion that directs us to go out for another procurement process for some current
what
bids.
my
For 7
motion-
through
That's what
12.
my motion was,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's we.
Items 7 through 12.
Perfect, perfect. And if we have to add some roads onto the second contract, we will come back to you for your approval for additional roads as well.
I have a question. Are any of these roads, the FEMA roads that we've submitted to FEMA for reimbursement on?
I anticipated that question. Ridge Road is one of those. I specifically talked to OEP about that. They did quite a bit of testing on that road. It came back deficient. We do expect that we will get FEMA money for that road. We're obviously going to have to reconstruct it because everybody knows how FEMA works. There's no way we're going to get the money in time to construct it before it falls apart. But after speaking with Rick Weber's group, we feel like we will be getting reimbursed for the rebuilding of that road. So I don't think the overlay or the reconstruction of Ridge Road, I don't think that's going to eliminate the what's the word I'm looking for? It shouldn't hinder us getting FEMA money for that work.
Okay, Terry's gonna kill me for this, but are we going to be rebuilding Ridge Road and then have to go back and they're gonna have to rebuild it again later on?
Oh, no,
Okay,
no.
that's what I'm making sure of.
No, we're gonna rebuild,
And even if they
reconstruct
do.
it.
That's what I said, you're gonna kill me, just wanna make sure.
No, all the roads that we're gonna be redoing is gonna be complete reconstruction. We should not have to do any kind of maintenance, reconstruction to these roads. We're gonna build them up to about a 10-year standard. So, once we rebuild these roads, we should not have to do anything to them for quite some time.
Councilman Cloyd?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, like using Ridge Road as an example, you got about $500,000 in there, 500-something thousand.
Correct.
And if, it's gonna take FEMA forever and a day to give you any money, so you're looking at that 3 years down the road.
That's
okay?
correct.
So what you do is when that FEMA money comes in, you can itemize that portion of that work, so you keep good enough records, and that gets reimbursed back into the pot.
We're checking into that. I'm not sure the exact process.
That's
That makes sense, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say everything makes
Scare
sense.
me
if
when
it
you
set
say
up.
it makes sense.
Right.
Don't bet
Probably
on it.
not how they work.
I will say that the information Tacey received from MPO, these road scans were done before the storm, before the flood.
Yeah.
So Ridge Road was in in
Shape.
poor condition before the flood, so. But
Not-
we'll look into
Not
that.
nearly as poor as it is now.
Yes, ma'am. We're looking into that, and we'll be in touch with Rick and his consultant to see, if, I don't want to use the term horse trading, but maybe there's something, obviously this isn't the first time this has ever come up, I'm sure, in the history of FEMA, so.
Chairman Dawson?
Well, what's the schedule, Tacey or Mike, on starting these, like, 1, 2, 3?
Well, we just received Coastal's signed contract back, so, our plan is, after you guys approve this priority list, we're gonna sit down with them, set up a pre-construction, at the same time, issue them a task to, address these roads, and issue them a notice to proceed at the same time. At that point in time, they'll give us a schedule, let us know how long it's gonna take them to rebuild each road. We do have the option as well, if they don't perform up to our standards, we do have the option to cancel their contract. So we will be observing their work, their ability to work with us, cooperate with with us, things of that nature. We do have the option to terminate their contract if we feel that they're not working up to parish standards.
Is there something required to get this 1 through 7 going? Is there some approval that's needed?
No, sir, this
Oh,
is,
okay.
this is basically as far, if you guys are okay with the priority, we can move forward.
Well,
Motion to approve.
I do have a question, though. If, can they find out how long it's gonna take to do each road, 1 through 12? And the reason I say that is Tillotson Road, it serves a school.
Right.
Lots of school buses on it. And doing that road during the school year is gonna create all kind of problems. If it can be done during the summer, it would solve a lot of problems.
And we can certainly sit down and coordinate with them on such things as that, like you said, Tillotson Road, we know there's a school nearby, so we can say, look, let's push this back in the summer, during the summer months. We'll issue a task, let's say starting at the end of May, and let you start work at that point. But Tillotson, if you notice, is not, that's beyond the 1.4 million on Coastal's contract, so whichever contract we bid out, the secondary contract we bid out, we can coordinate with them to get Tillotson done during the summer months, for sure. Even if we have to ask them to do it first.
Just real quick, and, I hate to keep making sense, but if you do 1 through 7, per se, or 1 through, and then you do the second half, you send that out for another bid, and you get that approved. Number 7 or 8 might be working before number 5 gets working, if it's 2 different constructions.
That's correct.
And these
I
are,
mean, just during the summer.
Yeah.
It could be next summer, but
these are also estimates taken from the unit prices. There may be some things that that need to be done that, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna get to number 6. I think that's a pretty strong estimate there, but culverts replacement and things like that, we have that in this contract, so. But you're right, that, we'll look at the schedule and come back to you guys
If
with
it's
a
parallel
formal schedule.
paths. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my main point was to get it done during the summer. I didn't think it'd be this summer. We got too many other things going on. I think we need 2 motions here.
Motion to approve the concrete rehab project list as presented.
I think 1 through 6.
That's correct.
Yeah, 1 through 6.
For that's pretty much the work that we
CBI.
should be able to do within the current contract that we have.
You would approve the list as we have it ordered, the entire list, and then we'll take it after the budget runs out for number 6, so.
Correct.
Second.
Is that?
I just had
Oh, okay.
a terrible pain.
Oh, they're in a punch or something.
So I'll get things done.
Oh, y'all excuse
okay?
me a second, yeah.
Any questions? Any objections? Okay, so moved. I believe we need a second motion for an RFQ.
For
A bid.
just
A
a
bid.
bid.
I'll call them all the same thing.
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? Any objections? So
Uh,
moved.
I do have a quick, can we move on that immediately? Go ahead and advertise for that immediately, or does this have to go to council first?
It has to go to council, but we could probably put on the next, but we can put it on the next agenda, hopefully, if the chairman will
Okay.
allow us.
We can get started on it.
Okay,
Next Thursday.
thank you.
Next Thursday.
Okay. Moving on. Paper one, because the computer's not working. Agenda item number 11, HNTB program update. Mike Enlow?
Yeah, 11A, or did you add an item? I didn't,
Well, he's gonna go to 11A.
you're going after, okay.
I was gonna go to
Yeah,
11A
so-
after.
I apologize.
That's okay.
H&TB is here, and they've patiently waited. We
Made
appreciate
them
that.
This long, I didn't want to make it wait any longer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They've got an update for us on the master plan work they've been doing, as well as the Quick Start initiative, and pretty interesting stuff. I think you'll be pleased. So with that, General Basilica.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I know we don't have staff. I don't know what we have to do to get the brief.
We should have him.
Up on the screen. There we go.
should have him there.
John, yeah.
You up on?
Again, thank you. What we intend to do this evening is to give you an overview of where we are on progress on our task order to provide a master plan, which included some work on the Quick Start. We'll cover that. We'll talk about the project inventory database that we've been working on, which is really this complete inventory of projects across the entire spectrum of the parish. We will take a little bit of time to talk to you about a part of a development that we're doing in terms of coming up with a process for prioritizing all the projects that we've come to inventory. We'll talk about what we've completed, what's underway, and the path forward. It's not our intent tonight, though, to get into a deep dive on any of these projects, because we're going to show you that you should be happy to know that there are a lot of projects, and we have identified them. We've tried to categorize them where they ought to be in terms of the type of funding, the types of projects that they are, in terms of the improvements that you want to make. And so there's quite a few charts, and what we've done is we've taken pains to make them a big enough font so you can see them. So we'll kind of blow through these here pretty fast, and you can maybe we can get some questions at the end. We spent a good bit of time to do a comprehensive data collection and outreach, which includes the existing parish projects from what we consider to be mostly 3 sources. At the state level, for the DOTD, your Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the Capital Region Planning Commission, and then DPW itself. We validated all of that information. We spent a good bit of time making sure that the information that was there, that we could ensure that it was current and that it was accurate, especially with DOTD and CRPC. Some of you have participated in the visioning session that took place in February to align your vision with the scope that we're working on as we speak right now. And we've done a good bit of investigating about the funding sources that we are going to be able to use in order to make sure that we have all the resources that we can possibly put to bear on these projects. The Quick Start projects in our current contract, this was designed to be really, there was not a lot of effort in that part of the program. It was mostly about the master plan. What we are doing now, though, is it's clear that the priority for the DPW and for the council is to work on Quick Start. And so we are pivoting our efforts to do that, and you'll see that that's what we've been spending the vast majority of our time, and we'll go into some detail on that. The master plan, however, is underway, and so we are still working simultaneously in terms of doing the planning that's required for it, and we are on schedule as we move forward. It's our plan at the May meeting of this committee to come back and give you a more detailed update on where we are on the master plan piece. Today, we're going to focus more on Quick Start. Here's an inventory of what we found as far as the data on projects. There are 39 projects that DOTD has currently got in some phase of project development. Some great news that there are 14 of them that are scheduled to be let in 2017, 7 in 2018, and 1 right now in 19. The remaining 17 projects are in some level of plan development, pre-construction type activity, and are scheduled to be let in 2019. And that's the way the department does its work. It's got all of those pre-construction activities, whether that's going to be the environmental, right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, design, and so forth. And they're in there. You'll see the projects that I'm talking about momentarily. We have 9 other projects that are in what's called stage 0, which is feasibility. And so the DOTD themselves, their traffic department is doing analysis on some of the roads. There are 41 Ascension projects that the parish has identified, and 15 long-range projects that are in the Capital Region Planning Commission's on their radar for their long-range plan. So a total of 104 projects that we now have visibility on, and that we are in the process of going deeper and getting the rest of the data to find status, accurate status on each of those. All of this information is being put into a centralized database to help the parish and the DPW be able to use this and then to track as we move forward. Here's some good news right away. These are projects that are currently have been let recently or are under construction at some point. There's approximately $28 million of investment that DOTD is putting into these. Some of these should look pretty familiar. Some are pretty much done in some cases. But the point is that these projects have moved forward, and that Ascension Parish will be enjoying the benefit of these. There's a second chart. Again, the total here is about $28 million of investment. Next, I want to spend some time talking about the funding, because everything is about money and the extent to which we can go fast, the extent to which we can do more, consistent with the conversation y'all were just having. Where are all these funding sources, and how can we make sure that we're maximizing those funding sources? You can see from federal, there are formula funds that the state gets, and the projects that they work through those formulas, whether they're bridges or roads or preservation, capacity, safety, and that's how the DOTD works. There are some grants. There's Tiger grants, there's FAST Act grants, and the parish may be eligible for some of those. We're looking at those. And then there's the federal loan programs, which, again, you could avail yourself of. TIFIA and Garvey bonds are special federal bonds that could be used. You just talked about, it's not listed here, but we did meet with Rick and the OEP, and we did look at the FEMA projects. They do have a detailed list. There are projects there on roads, obviously, and bridges that FEMA is being requested. The project worksheets are completed. They're submitted. We don't know how quickly that FEMA is going to make a determination, but it is important, I think, that we make sure that we maintain the visibility of those projects and note which ones are eligible for FEMA for reimbursement. Because one caveat that I would tell you about the discussion you were just saying is about FEMA, and that's simply that they will reimburse provided that the way you're doing it and what you've got included in your costs, they agree with. And so the danger here as you move forward sometimes is that, are they okay with your specifications? Are they okay with what you're doing, 4 inches of asphalt, whatever the specs you're using, is that what FEMA would reimburse? Because what you may come back and find out is you spent $500,000 on a road, and they say, well, that's not what we're going to reimburse, it's only $300,000, because their specifications might be different. So it's something that can be resolved while they're in the PW process, and we should take a look at that and proceed carefully so that we don't make sure you get maximum reimbursement for the work that's being done in terms of moving forward on those overlays. On the state side, you've got formula funds for the MPO, state match from the Transportation Trust Fund. There are the general obligation bonds that you're familiar with that are in the capital outlay program in House Bill number 2. And then there's also this parish road transfer program that the department has established. There is a package of roadways that have been prepared that are eligible for this program for Ascension Parish. The total value of that package is $58 million, a significant sum. It has all the details. It's inconsistent with a very sophisticated program that the DOTD has set up. And I think it's something that we would want to make sure that we do a very detailed analysis of in terms of a recommendation as to how to leverage that money that's available to the parish. We're not at this point ready to recommend to you that you just accept that writ large. You'd want to look at those roads. You'd want to see what you get. It's really a very good program, though, in terms of win-win. If the roadway is not up to standard, they pay to bring it up to standard. And then you're going to get the equivalent of what is 40 years' worth of maintenance costs moving forward. And that's how you get that $58 million. So again, another significant pot of money that can be leveraged. At the local level, based on our understanding of where you are today, there was a current balance when we started 2017 of about $22 million in the transportation fund. You budgeted and appropriated a spending plan of about $13 million this year. You should anticipate about $8.2 million in new revenues coming in. You do the quick math, there's a balance of something in the neighborhood of $17 million. Based on what I understand the $13 million that you said you were going to spend, it doesn't look like you're going to spend all of that. So I think that 17 could actually be more, because I think you budgeted about $6 million for one project, and it just came in at 2.4. So that's a little bit of a moving target. The point is that you have cash right now that's available to help accelerate and move more projects forward. And so we'll be talking about that a little bit more. I know there's been some discussion about the timing of perhaps another bond sale for the parish. That's certainly something that you could do. The trend is that the interest rates are going up. The timing might be good. Would provide you with additional funds to be able to do more. And then we talked at length tonight about the transportation impact fees. Once you've got some of that resolved, again, some of these fees, some of these funds, some of these monies have restrictions. The whole issue here that we would help you with is to make sure that we're making sure we're spending the right color money on the right types of projects so that we don't take the most flexible spending and use it where we only had money, for example, on a FEMA job or something like that, that's specifically for a purpose, that we would want to make sure that we do that in the most efficient fashion. So the good news is that we see available funds that can move projects forward as we solidify the list and get your approval for that. Words have meaning. We talk about quick start, so we want to make sure what's the definition of quick start. So I'm suggesting a definition here. We're calling quick start phase 1 from today to the end of December 2018. So basically the next 21 months, basically 2 years since the start of our contract. And what would we do there? We would expedite the delivery of the existing DOTD projects to make sure they don't get off track, and I'm going to show you that list here shortly, and the parish projects that we're talking about, and you'll see that list as well. You just made a great decision 2 seconds ago to move the preservation projects forward on the overlay so that you can not only do the list at the 1.4 billion, but now you're making plans to go ahead and do that, so I commend you for that. We'll come forward with some recommendations in May to specifically tell you how we think you might maximize the investments, because you always have a situation where you want to spend $1 on more construction, or you're going to invest some dollars in pre-construction activities so you can get the next projects ready to go. We will want to come back to you with some recommendations as to what's the correct balance there for you to look at, and you'll need to begin pre-construction activities on a number of projects so that they could be ready for construction. That would be especially true if you're contemplating doing the bonding. It's going to take you a while. I've seen the schedule. It looks like that if you were to adopt that schedule, bond funds could be available as late as like August, September timeframe. You would want to not do that until you had projects that were ready to go to construction, so that you don't run into arbitrage problems or anything like that. During this same period, while we're focused on these projects, we will complete the master plan, and so we will have that available to us, and we'll be working toward a more structured program of projects for future fiscal years that we will follow per the master plan. I'm calling phase 2 of the quick start from the next year, one more year out, and we would hope that we would have the next series of projects teed up, pre-construction complete, and ready to capitalize on the additional monies that we would have in order to go to construction and accelerate that list. These next series of charts are the DOTD projects. You'll note in green the letting dates. You'll see the construction amounts that are there. The yellow ones are just a couple of ones that I know that we've heard about that are, they're all high visibility. They're all very important, but certainly LA 42. I spoke to the Secretary of Transportation this morning, Dr. Wilson, and he assured me that it's going to be let in May. And that's a $25 million project. Did you hear that? That's exactly the way I said it. And I was talking to the man. So you'll see those. This next chart, there's just a series more all the way down. The green ones are all the ones that are programmed for 2017. You'll notice that it sort of stops right there in September, because that's where the end of the federal fiscal year is for them. They try to work within those confines as they move, and sometimes these projects move a little bit, trying to get the last few details figured out. Again, we are going to be monitoring, and we're going to be helping keep these on track to make sure that the DOTD, if there's anything that the parish needs to do, we can make sure that those problems are taken care of. Another project certainly to take note of there is the interstate widening, I-10 Highland to 73, $72 million. That is going to be a design-build project, and so that widening will start this year. The last one are a few remaining projects you can see that are in 2018, scheduled for letting next year. And again, if things move quickly, and if they just lack for match, or if we can come forward with some parish funds to get them to move forward as the match, we may be able to accelerate some of these. But all told, the next 2 years, $135 million worth of investment in Ascension Parish roads on state highways. This next list is what we're calling the Phase 1 Quick Start on the parish side. These are 4 projects that I know that you're familiar with. Safety improvements is what we're calling them. And there's a story behind each of these, and I know you know there's a lot of information there. There's work to be done here to get these to move forward. We're working very closely with DPW to make sure that we can do what is necessary to expedite these projects. But we think that we're able to move forward, and it's not about funding. We believe there's enough funding to be able to get these projects during this period, during the Phase 1 period. The next list is Tacey's list that you just looked at. I believe this is identical to what you just approved, and so it's in great shape. And then the bottom one there, of course, is the one that you just let to Barber Brothers last week. And so, again, another project to move forward, about $16 million worth of improvements. The next couple of charts again, give you visibility of projects that we have got from the parish that are in all forms of pre-construction at some point. Many of them don't have any steps in the pre-construction process, but they've been identified in some way, shape, form, or fashion as projects that are needed. They are in no particular prioritization order at this point. And again, we need to do a lot more analysis in terms of what specific things need to be done to move them forward. I show them to you and that to let you know that we have visibility of these projects and we're including them in the consolidated list. So these are all safety improvements. Next are some capacity improvements. And the last list is what I was telling you is on the MPO's list for their long-range plan. I think you can see there's two charts here, and many of these are the big capacity projects, and so that they are at least have visibility on another $400 million worth of projects for Ascension Parish that are on the radar of the MPO. If the state is successful in this legislative session for the DOTD to get additional money as a result of the revenue increasing initiatives, there are several bills that have been filed. There's a lot of optimism about a lot of these projects being able to move forward sooner, because that it all depends on the extent to which the funding is provided, how much, and that number ranges wildly at this point. We'll just have to wait. The good news is that we'll know in 60 days that if there's more money for the state, and again, I think the parish now is in very good shape there, where if you have the match to be able to do that, I believe you'll be able to take advantage of a lot of those monies and beat other parishes to the punch, which is the way to go. Transitioning a little bit, just want to show you, I won't spend a lot of time on this, given the hour that it is and it's late. We're developing a structured type of an approach toward a priority program, for the parish and for DPW. You can see that, basically we're trying to be in alignment with the way that the DOT and the MPO does business, and then again allow the flexibility for the parish and the local bridge and road projects to be able to be put together. And the next chart talks about organizing it in using the same language that we're familiar with, and these are the same preservation, capacity, safety, and traffic type of improvements, where the funding is organized by those types of funding categories, and we can partition it in that way and organize your program of projects in that fashion, and that will put you in alignment with the money and make sure that you can move your projects forward quicker. And so at this point, we've completed a tremendous amount of data collection. We've done a good bit of coordination with your partner organizations, which are the DOTD and the MPO, and FEMA and others. We still have some stakeholder groups that we need to get out in touch with. We have not talked to the school board or to the sheriff or any of those folks yet. That's going to be in this next 30 days or so, but we'll get additional information from them. We did conduct the visioning session. We've had these this package of quick start projects that have been identified that we will now do more analysis on and start to come up with prioritization and evaluation criteria. We will continue to assist the parish with this database that we're putting together that has all this information in it, complete with all the status and the funding and the schedule tracking. We have updated the travel demand model. This is over on the master plan side that's being done based on information that we've received from the MPO. That model is pushing out a future no build versus future build scenarios that we will offer when we talk to you about the master plan. And we're continuing to evaluate and assess the parish's needs as we look at that. And so, from here, we want to finalize and deliver to you some specific recommendations for the Quick Start program. We intend to do that in the May meeting. We would come back with very specific recommendations, how to fund it, how you would lay out this program, and where you would go from there. That's our primary specific task moving forward. We will have these additional stakeholder and partner meetings. We'll keep working the master plan simultaneously. We will develop a fiscally constrained plan based on any of the other decisions that you make relative to funding or bonds and so forth, and we'll develop a consolidated letting list so that you'll be able to see schedule-wise when these projects will be let. And of course, we'll continue to report to you and work through the steering committee to be able to make sure that we provide that information to you. And so, orange barrels, that's gonna be our thing, is orange barrels. And so, I didn't wear my safety vest here tonight, but subject to your questions, that's a very fast overview of what we've been up to for the last 90 days.
Don't worry, Bill has a safety shirt on, so we're all good.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, there you go. Safety over.
Any questions?
I just think next month would be crucial, you know, when y'all come in with the finances and the ways of us, you know, getting these jobs accomplished.
Yes,
And,
sir.
That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
I'm
We
looking
will come
forward to
back
next
with
month
very
on that. Yeah.
specific recommendations as to what to do. We'll meet with the steering committee first,
Okay.
then we'll meet with this committee next. And so, we'll be very collaborative with that as we move forward.
Appreciate it. Good work.
Councilman Floyd?
Sir?
Just, I know we briefly talked, you know, in conversations all about bonding, future bonding, using our debt service or whatever for bonding. So I do think that's one of our better options to get our best bang for our bucks and get some projects out. I appreciate the updates on, look like there's a lot of emphasis on the state level that we've been beating up for a lot of years on the Highway 30 situation, you know, all the way through Gonzales.
Yes, sir.
And some of the other major intersection improvements. But definitely want to look at, you know, some kind of, where would we go with bonding?
We'll do that. We'll come, again, if I believe you're somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 to $20 million is the targeted range, we can certainly then show you could do this, and then here's what you could do with more. And to what extent? It's almost like moving down that overlay list. How far can you get on these projects and the priorities? That's how we would organize that information for you.
Councilman Cagalati?
Just a quick question, General, on
Yes,
the
sir.
Interstate 10.
Yes, sir.
The widening is one thing. We heard that it's just going to keep coming down through Ascension. What about interchange? We were told years ago, well, about 3 years ago now, right, Terry, that the next interchange on I-10 would be in Ascension Parish, and now we're told it's going to be at Piku Lane.
But,
So, have you heard anything in that?
well, I can
regard?
tell you that the one on Piku is quite a bit further along
Yeah.
than a future one in Ascension, but I don't believe they're mutually exclusive. So I think that you would probably see that at the moment, DOTD would probably tell you that the one in Ascension, there's no disagreement that would be the next one on I-10. It fits into this list of projects that are unfunded. At their current level, the DOTD is very limited to what they can do in terms of capacity. And here's my commercial, again, for your state legislative delegation. You'll see in the package that's going to come out, they make a distinction, I make a distinction, between what we're calling regular capacity type projects. Regular capacity to the state are interchanges like you're suggesting. It's the interstate widening. They're the meat and potatoes type of projects that range anywhere between $50 and $100 million. In a given year for DOTD, I mean, that is a budget-busting deal for them. This I-10 widening that's taken place this year came from extra monies that we were able to, the DOT was able to secure from the feds as part of the package from the previous administration, that they were able to do that. So to do another interchange just wreaks havoc with the rest of the preservation type projects, and so for the most part, they sit unfunded. The mega projects, which is the word they're using, is this A and B list of significant projects that are in the long-range transportation plan for the state. What the guidance is moving forward is that there will be money for those regular capacity type projects, X amount that's going to be allocated to them, and then X amount for these megas as well. So those type projects will have more money in that bucket. And a good reason why it would be a very good thing for the delegation to support that, because there's a lot in it, I think, that would inure to the benefit of Ascension Parish. Just based on projects that are there, that fit that criteria.
Chairman Dawson.
And that commercial came to you courtesy of the co-chair of the governor's task force, not from any other place.
Chairman Dawson.
Yeah, first I want to thank you, General. I mean, this is a great start for us. And, you know, I think myself, I learned a lot from here. I would like to encourage you, if it's possible, I see the phase one of Quick Start that runs through December 18th. Right now, I don't see any construction during that period. So I would encourage you guys, if it's possible, let's see if we can get some cones out before 2019. You know, we have, as you said, we have some money in the reserve fund. We'll have about $20 million in the road fund at the end of this year. Additionally, as you indicated, we're gonna go look at bonds, and I hope that we'll address that tomorrow night at the finance meeting. But you know, we should have funds available in order to do work that we can get traffic flow improvements made in Ascension Parish, and hopefully some of that construction, I hope we can begin early. But thank you for all the work you guys have done.
That's the goal.
Councilwoman Cazza?
Couple of questions, if the chair will indulge me.
Absolutely.
We had a meeting last week, didn't go real well for me. We talked about these expenses, all of these projects, and we were told you can't spend this kind of money in a year.
Can't spend it in here.
Can't spend it. And an explanation was offered that it took all this time to do engineering and all of this time to do other things and to let jobs and buy right-of-way. And by the time you looked down the road, you were a long way off from spending this money. And you know, that just drew the ire of all of us, and I think more so for me, or I was more outspoken about it. And my concern is, what does it take to get everybody off of top dead center and let's start getting these projects done? What kind of expectation do we have to set as a council for this work to be done quickly, for us not to accept that it takes a month to write, or 2 months, excuse me, that's just what it takes to write a contract, that it takes a year to do X, Y, or Z of these projects? Is that a project management issue? And if the answer to that question is yes, or some part of it is yes, then what does project management for what we are trying to accomplish quickly look like? What would it look like in an HMTB world? What might it look like in other engineering world? And just help me to understand, and my constituents to understand, if this has to take this long, or is there a way with good project management and lots of push that we can expedite these projects and get to orange cones before, I'm really echoing Councilman Dawson, before 2018?
Before you answer, I just ditto. I just can't accept that things have to take this long with everything we do. Can't accept it. There's got to be another way, but go ahead.
Understood.
I couldn't accept it the other day either, but it didn't go well for me.
Well, first let me say that I think you have to acknowledge that you have a lean and mean transportation group at the moment. And so some staff augmentation to assist in terms of that type of project program management, because what you're doing is you're expanding what they're doing now, doubling, perhaps tripling the work. And you can't apologize for the fact that these are projects that do require these steps. And so help in that regard, I think, would be in order to be able to expedite. I think it's unrealistic to think that being able to put out many contracts, to be able to manage many contracts, to be able to do what you want to do, push takes energy, push takes some staffing to be able to do that. And so a way, as you talked about earlier, you can hire more people, or you can perhaps avail yourself of help on the consultant type market. For HNTB, we do program management. We've done it in the past. What does it look like? Typically, what it looks like is there's about 4 or 5 tasks that you could count on to do program-type management. It's all the program management type tasks in terms of schedule, finance, managing the entire program. Number 2 are controls. You have to have project controls. You have to be able to make sure that you're managing the money, the schedule, and so forth, and so that's what it's called. It's called controls, and it's called document management, so that you can move this paper. The third thing is that you would want to think about some sort of a pool of engineers to be able to have at the ready to do design. And that the program manager does design oversight. Program manager does not do the design themselves, but provides that extra oversight on these consultants to flog them, to keep them on schedule as they produce the design.
I don't like public floggings,
It's a-
but
it's-
maybe under these
It's
circumstances.
an affectionate term in the industry. So, and then there's construction, obviously is done by contractors. You need construction inspection. Again, do you have the in-house capability to do that, or do you need help with that? And then last but not least, we always try to include outreach and public information, because as you know, you have constituencies out there that want to know, when is it going to be in front of my business or my house, or when's it going to happen, and having public meetings and being able to have that information and keep it current is another function. We've done that in the past, and it's been done by others, on state programs, and it's pretty straightforward stuff. It just takes some resources. It's not cheap.
So does I take it that our current contract with you does not include that?
No, as a matter of fact, it does. It doesn't use those words. We have the master agreement, which is a general engineering consultant contract, and it has the latitude for you to do that. I'm only working on task order number 1 because, as the council wanted, we're being controlled based on task order by task order by task order, and you only appropriate X amount of money to do certain things. The master agreement would allow for this type of work if that was the desire of the council and they wanted to do that and issue another task order.
Or we could go out for another, or we would do a request for
You
proposals
could do
and
a complete request for
further
proposals.
bog this process down.
Again, that's just something it would take some time to develop that, but you could do that, yes, absolutely.
And one other question, if I may indulge. State Highway 930 a right-of-way was purchased? That little narrow road is sitting there with Prairieville Elementary School sitting on it, Henry Road intersecting it, and all the work being done on 42. So obviously, I didn't see a thing about 930 in here. So what is that, what happened to that?
I'm gonna go like this.
Talking with the District 61 engineers, Highway 930 has all but about 2 parcels of right-of-way purchased, and I think 95 to 100% design. So it is ready. One of the things that the engineers instructed us to maybe do is talk to, is it Dr. Calavoda with DOTD? They want to transfer that road to us after it would be designed on it's engineered on their dime. It's going to be constructed on their dime. And they want to give that to us with the credit. So that's something else that's, it may not have been on this list, but it's part of the road transfer and something.
Then I do see it in here. That road transfer program might be a part of that.
Right. Like the general said, I agree. I think it's a win-win. We have to understand what type of credits we're going to get and what we can use them for, which are pretty straightforward. But there's some intricacies that we need to learn about, and I think pretty soon we'll be coming back to this committee to discuss those options.
We would think that by the May meeting, we would have a little more detail to show you what it is that the package that DOTD is offering and how that's put together.
Interesting. Well, this has been wonderful. If I may conclude by saying that I'm so impressed with this body of work and look forward to seeing orange barrels in our roads
ma'am.
soon.
Soon.
Councilman Claude?
Yeah, just real quick, General, based on what, Terry's aggravation with the project management is the same as everybody else's. But I don't think we have any steps there that we cannot, that we can avoid taking, okay?
That's right.
And
No, I mean, if you have,
The
if there's.
best thing we can do, no,
Sure.
I just want to review everything, and the best that we can do is have all our details of our projects going forward. Because once we reach the funding stage, once the state even reaches the funding stage, or Federal Highway puts in money, and that is truly funded, not just part of a budget, then that makes all the difference. And the letting, based on public bid, there's not much we can do about the letting. Based on you guys in Ascension Parish, you'd mentioned the MSA's Master Service Agreement.
Yes.
I don't know if, that y'all can do it all. You probably can, or you can be authorized to do it all. The way we handle our engineering selection within the parish, sometimes we're gonna run into this in sewer, we're running into it in the roads, we'll run into it in drainage. We need to take another look at our engineering selection process. There's other processes out there that work very well that gives us that autonomy to keep multiple engineering groups on call and through a task order time, through a time frame, 1 year, 2 year, whatever, and pull them up as tasks present themselves.
That's right.
And just a clarification, nothing against HMTV, but I don't know if it was ever the thought of the council, as I've served on the committees and been here from the beginning of this, it was ever the thought that HMT would have all of this, that this was a very, very large project. And there was a lot of questioning up front when the first contract came in, and there was a lot of autonomy within that contract that was questioned. And while you have that ability to do that based on contractual latitude, and we've got a lot of work that definitely, if, like I said, we're shackled by our engineering selection process right now.
I think, well, the point that we made then, and we make it again, is that the council maintains full control. So,
Yeah.
how much or how
You
little.
just tasked out.
That's it. We thought we gave you a flexible master agreement. And that flexibility allows you to go fast, but that is strictly up to council in terms of how they do that.
Any other questions?
That's all I got. The 10 o'clock news is on.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We are going to move on, it's late at night, my paperwork's out of order now, to 11A. And because I've got all this paperwork everywhere, I misplaced it. Got exactly what it is. Here it is. It's an RFQ for preliminary engineering through right-of-way acquisition for Highway 3127, for the Highway 3127 extension.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Todd, second by Terry. Any questions?
I'd like to,
Yeah,
I'd like to clarify.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give you a little clarification. So, what we're looking at is about 4 or 5 miles of road, between 4 and 5 miles of road, doing the design, getting up to right-of-way acquisition. Everybody, I don't think it's any secret that, that we've got several people interested in the West Bank Industrial Park. This is a key to being able to land a client there. So, we want to propose to use the CF funds and proceed up to right-of-way acquisition so that if we do land a fish, then we can proceed right away with the road itself.
And this would be part of the West Bank. It would fit into the mold of the West Bank Express.
Correct. It's on that same route.
Right.
And this is CF funds which had to be used on the West
I
Bank.
would like to, maybe put a little clarification to your motion, if you will, based on the availability of the CF funds. I talked to finance today. They are they're at the sales tax authority right now. So we've got to get those, we've got to find out how to unlock that safe and get them over here.
Would you want to make it on them or just pending the release of
Pending
those
the
funds?
release of it.
So that
Yeah,
way we can do
yeah.
it whenever it becomes free?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to redo that motion? Or are we good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any objections? So moved. Do I hear,
Move we adjourn?
and we have a second by Todd? Thank you all very much. Sorry we took so long tonight.